What happens when people-pleasing becomes your habit? There is a subtle trap in life that wears a smile on its face. It pretends to be kindness, it disguises itself as humility, and it looks like generosity. But in truth, it is none of these things. It is the slow erosion of your identity. It is the quiet destruction of your dreams. It is the habit of people-pleasing. And though it looks harmless at first, when it becomes your way of living, it drains you until there is nothing left to give. At first, you don't even notice it. You say yes when you want to say no. You smile when you feel like crying. You bend when you should stand tall. And everyone around you is comfortable. Everyone around you is happy. But when the noise fades and you are left with yourself, you feel an emptiness that grows deeper every day. Because deep inside, you know the truth. You are betraying yourself. People-pleasing often begins as survival. Maybe as a child you learned that love was conditional, that approval had to be earned. Maybe you discovered that the easiest way to avoid rejection was to agree, to perform, to sacrifice. And so you carried that habit into adulthood, believing it would protect you. But here's the paradox. What once protected you is now destroying you. Every time you silence your voice to keep the peace, you build a wall around your own heart. Every time you agree to something that drains you, you carve away another piece of your dream. And over years, those pieces add up, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you no longer know who you are without the expectations of others. What happens when people-pleasing becomes your habit? You lose your authenticity. You live as an echo, not a voice. You walk through life carrying the burden of everyone else's happiness, while your own soul starves in silence. There is a proverb that says, "The man who tries to please everyone pleases no one." And it is true. Because people-pleasing does not create real love or real respect. It creates dependency, it creates expectation, it creates exhaustion. And in the end, the very people you worked so hard to please may still turn against you when you fail to meet one more demand. Consider this. When you fight for your dream, you may face rejection, you may face criticism, you may even face loneliness. But when you abandon your dream to please others, you face something far worse. You face regret. Regret is the heaviest burden a human heart can carry because it cannot be undone. Imagine this story. A young artist with a gift for painting spends her days creating. She pours her heart into her work, but her family tells her it is not practical. Her friends say she is wasting her time, and society pressures her to choose a safe career. She doesn't want to disappoint them, so she abandons her brush and picks up a job that suffocates her. Decades later, when she has fulfilled everyone's expectations but her own, she finds the old brush in a box. She holds it with trembling hands, realizing the life she could have lived is gone forever. That is the cost of people-pleasing. It robs you not just of your present, but of your future. Think of your own life. How many times have you wanted to say no, but you said yes? How many times have you dreamed of taking a step forward, but you stayed still because someone else might disapprove? How many times have you swallowed your truth just to keep the peace? Each of those moments may feel small, but together they form a chain that ties you to a life that does not belong to you. The mind of a people-pleaser is filled with fear of rejection, fear of conflict, fear of being abandoned. Psychologically, this fear is rooted in survival. Humans are wired to seek belonging, and rejection feels like death to the brain. That is why the temptation to please is so strong. But here's the truth. Not every rejection is fatal. Not every conflict is the end. And not every disapproval means you are unloved. Sometimes rejection is protection. Sometimes conflict is the doorway to respect. And sometimes disapproval is the price of freedom. There is a saying, better a wound from a friend than a kiss from an enemy. When you betray yourself to please others, you are accepting the kiss of an enemy disguised as approval. It feels good in the moment, but it leaves scars that run deeper than rejection ever could. Let us think of life like a journey. Every dream is a destination. People-pleasing is like carrying extra passengers who constantly demand detours. At first, it feels noble. You are giving them a ride. But soon, you realize you are no longer driving toward your dream. You are circling aimlessly, wasting fuel, wasting time. And when your tank runs dry, they get out and find another ride, while you are left stranded, far from where you were meant to be. Now imagine your life 20, 30, 40 years from now. You lived to keep others comfortable. You lived to maintain peace. You lived to meet expectations. Everyone remembers you as kind, selfless, always agreeable. But when you sit alone with your memories, what will you see? Will you see the life you wanted to live, or will you see the life they wanted you to live? Will you see the dream you fought for, or will you see the dream you buried? One day the applause will stop. One day the people you tried so hard to please will move on. One day you will be left with yourself, and on that day you will ask a question no one else can answer. Did I live my life, or did I just live for them? There's another saying, a man without enemies never stood for anything. People-pleasing may give you temporary approval, but it takes away your courage to stand. It turns your life into a series of compromises until your dream is nothing but a distant memory. But let us imagine the opposite. Imagine if you had the courage to say no. Imagine if you were willing to risk their disappointment to honor your truth. At first, it would feel like rebellion, but in time, it would feel like freedom. Saying no is not selfish, it is strength. It is the declaration that your life belongs to you. Think of it this way. Your dream is like a fire. Every time you say yes to something that goes against it, you pour water on that fire. Every time you silence yourself, you remove oxygen from that flame. But every time you choose authenticity, every time you stand firm, every time you honor your own path, you add fuel to the fire. And when your fire burns brightly, it not only warms you, it lights the way for others. There is a powerful truth here. The best way to serve others is not to please them, but to inspire them. People are not moved by your compliance. They are moved by your authenticity. They are not changed by your sacrifice. They are changed by your courage. So what happens when people-pleasing becomes your habit? You lose your identity, you lose your dream, you lose your freedom. But what happens when authenticity becomes your habit? You may lose some approval, but you gain respect. You may lose some comfort, but you gain fulfillment. You may lose some friends, but you gain yourself. Your life is too precious to waste on being agreeable. You were not created to be a shadow. You were created to shine, and shining requires courage. Shining requires boundaries. Shining requires the willingness to stand alone if necessary. At the end of your journey, when you look back, what will matter is not how many people you pleased. What will matter is how true you remain to the dream placed within you. What will matter is whether you lived your life with courage or with compromise. Because once people-pleasing becomes your habit, you may gain approval, but you lose yourself. And no approval is worth the price of your soul. There is a story told of a farmer who owned 2 fields. In the first, he planted wheat for himself and his family. In the second, he planted whatever seeds his neighbors wanted. Corn for one, barley for another, vegetables for another. He worked both fields equally hard, but when the harvest came, the field he planted for himself was overflowing, while the field planted for others was full of weeds and scattered crops that never fully grew. The farmer realized too late that in trying to satisfy everyone else's desires, he had neglected his own provision. He had starved himself in the name of generosity. This is the life of a people-pleaser. You plant for everyone but yourself, only to realize that when the harvest comes, you have nothing to eat. Even among the famous, you will hear the same lesson. In countless interviews, some of the most successful people have admitted that their turning point came the day they stopped trying to please everyone and started living with purpose. They spoke about the criticism they faced, the friends they lost, the family members who doubted them. But they also spoke about the freedom they gained, the strength they discovered, and the joy of knowing they were finally living a life that was their own. One actor once said, "I wasted years trying to fit into roles people wanted for me, until I realized the only role worth playing was myself." A singer once admitted, "The more I tried to satisfy the crowd, the less I could hear my own voice. It was only when I stopped chasing their approval that my true voice finally broke through." These confessions are not just personal, they are universal. They remind us that no amount of fame, wealth, or recognition can compensate for a life unlived. And so, here we stand at the crossroads. Each of us must choose. Will we continue to live bending, nodding, erasing, always making ourselves small so others can feel comfortable? Or will we stand tall, speak our truth, guard our dreams, and set boundaries that protect our souls? Remember this, boundaries are not walls, they are bridges. They are the lines that allow love to flow in both directions, without one drowning the other. Without boundaries, there is no true relationship, only performance. And without authenticity, there is no true life, only survival. So let this be the call. Stop making people pleasing your obligation. Stop living as though your worth depends on their applause. Stop sacrificing your dream on the altar of their comfort. Instead, learn the courage of no. Learn the power of boundaries. Learn the beauty of disappointing the crowd if it means honoring your own truth. Because the moment you do, you don't just free yourself, you give permission to others to live authentically too. And if this message spoke to you today, then don't let it end here. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Leave your thoughts in the comments, because your story might be the very thing that helps someone else break free. Like this video if it touched you, subscribe to our channel if you are ready to reclaim your own voice, and explore the other videos we have created to guide you on this journey. Every view, every share, every word of engagement helps build a community of people who are no longer living as shadows, but as lights. And together we will rise, not as people pleasers, but as dream chasers.